Well, good afternoon, everybody. Another beautiful, blustery day here in Sacramento. Marty Keller, joining John Donovan down in Oceanside, California. And we have a very special guest today. I'm pleased to welcome Larry Webb. Also here in Sacramento, Larry is part of the Man Alive project, which is one of the places John got his start in this whole business.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm going to ask John to share with us a little bit about Man Alive, and then introduce Larry in a little more depth. John?
Okay, yeah. And it was I to stay at work and resign for the men out of jail. Unique and he came out and on stage said if you want to stay and he about your behavior. I got it that he was telling me how to reach enlightenment, although I also knew at the same time that he didn't know that that's what he was telling me. That's what I was hearing him say. And his job, as he saw it, was to keep men out of jail. And I just sat there for a year and a half, a weekly meeting, 3 hours a week, the 52-week design course. And I ended up being there, I don't know, 80 some weeks. And then I became a facilitator, and that's where I met Larry. Larry is now the director of Man Alive Sacramento. And he runs the nonprofit organization that and goes into the jail and teaches the same thing that I learned and that he learned to other men so that they can make their choice. And Larry is, I want to say, a longtime friend. And I keep forgetting the word. It's not co-worker, it's collaborator. There's a colleague in this business of teaching to share mission of the people, different individual, and very new.
John, just for having me here on the journey I would take. I would have a privilege to actually explain what I was saying. A key difference. Yet I see, actually the behaviors at personal level. But I really need the ability and operating myself to create relationships with others, and actually myself. And that word is accountability. I had no accountability, and I had no idea that I was a violent man, let alone being violent to myself before being violent to others. So with that being said, I remember, when my very first moment of transition happened, and John and I were talking about this a couple of days ago, learning how to surrender to an initial belief system that said I had all the answers, and I knew how to create a healthy relationship or communicate with my partner and so on. Well, that 17-year relationship was extremely toxic. It was extremely toxic, and I didn't see that, and I was obliviated from those conditions in my own conscious. Another amazing thing is just the way that I talk today is a lot different than the way it was when I first walked in the room. Being able to ask for what I need to get a better clarity of how to nurture myself. I didn't even have no idea on how to even nurture myself with an emotion, let alone being able to identify the emotion. I was mostly in a cognitive, structural thing. So I learned a lot of skills about my transition, and on where I went and started developing, good healthy decision-making attitudes and good decision-making on how I was surviving my own personal life committee. Had to make really tough decisions. Most students were recognized I was a parent for time transition, and that's cool. Still worth going through because today I have definition.
Let me ask you a classroom with me, and I had a step from the guys one time in the classroom in the jail. What are you hearing me say? Because I thought I was telling them all this really cool information about how to stay out of jail. And one of the guys in the back of the room raised his hand and he said, "John, you guys want us all to be a bunch of sissies." And I thought, oh my God. And I knew that people heard what through their filters. And that's when I made a decision to stop facilitating Man Alive, which is an excellent program. It gave me a lot of insight into myself, and create a group where the men talked about what they heard us say, a dialogue group, and which morphed into the intentional living material that I now have, the accountability material in that sense. So when I first met you, it was in that dialogue group, that intentional living group. So wow, it's really I don't know what the feeling is, gratitude, and feeling blessed that I'm now sitting here with you in the capacity that we're sitting here together with, and that we're both, all three of us actually, are making an impact on the planet in a way that comes from our source, from our authentic expression. So it's really cool, really cool.
And Larry, just by way of introducing myself to you, I met John through my church men's group at the so that's a process
what is this stuff? What's happening? What is it being used for? The intentional living it's amazing. I do recall what John was talking about, sitting in his change class, and he was using every day of going in the classroom, and he'd sit there and not say anything, but he'd have on the board, what's your focus, set the intention of that focus, owning the projection, and then moving toward the pain. Now, I didn't have any idea what moving toward the pain was. I thought I knew what, owning the projection could be. Okay, I'm just owning what I'm seeing, and backing up and recognizing, what an intention even is, and how an intention is, created or developed. And so throughout the years, I too have, stayed in contact with John with, understanding some of these things and concepts. I'm still a work in progress. I'm still, learning how to identify what my primary purpose is and how to set the intention for that. It all boils down to is creating a world where peace and love is, and where women feel safe around men, and men stop the violence that they do. So, of course, all of the primary skills from Men Alive definitely has, led me into my own personal ability to process these intentions that come up, and how do I know that those intentions are actually being developed, and how do I know that they're taking place? Maybe even understanding what the sincerity is behind the intention, and what's the motive, and how it's creating that passion through expression with others, and how we connect. So I don't know where that's going, but but it's just amazing just to be open-minded and allow them to come into the segment. I don't know how I'm expressing it, or saying it, or know how it's coming out from others, and I don't want to confuse myself as I speak. Yeah, I do help people be expressive within themselves. And
we understand like before my recovery practitioner, the result was inner child wounded origin trauma, and wounding, and the end result of that pain and wounding was alcoholic, codependent, in some type of avoidant behavior. When I owned the alcoholism, codependency, and avoidant behavior, and one of those avoidant behaviors was emotionally and verbally violent, I was able to create a conscious intention, and my vision is to create a world where our children are nurtured to their authenticity, where I live a life of peace and compassion. And those intentions demonstrate in my life, in my everyday walk, in my relationships with my daughters and my coworkers and my friends. And this work is demonstratable. I am where I am based on ownership of where I've been and what I want, and then creating a specific, clear intention. Is my intention to live in peace, or is my intention to be kind? And I find myself coming out of the history that I came from and actually exemplifying kindness and compassion. It's just an amazing process. And I've seen that in you and Marty and hundreds of other people that have taken on this information, simply information about how it works and what do you want. This is how it works.
Right. Yeah, a great identifier there, talking about the subconscious, where all of those behaviors and the conscious is relying on. Right. Now 12 years ago, I didn't have any. You talk about subconscious, I wouldn't even know what the heck you were talking about. I think everyone trigger all the trauma experiences embedded in my subconscious. Being able to give information to other men today, or other folks, and likewise, as you've done for me, it's such a creative experience. And so, what I've been having to from set intentions, I want to change that core belief of the trauma was first initiated. But I mean, I get trauma, but I don't have to feel the pain. Now I understand what moving the pain is for the trauma to change the motive. And so that is just
language that is developed through these programs, and the language makes sense to us, but to a newcomer it may not. Would you be willing to give an example of how that experience worked for you in your life? Could you walk us through a discovery that you made through the emotional ownership of a traumatic memory or experience that was being translated into something violent or unhelpful in your life?
Well, you talk about the adult alcohol community, right? So one of the things is that I believe that when I've had my first drink of alcohol and I became addicted to it, if I go all the way back to that experience, when was it created? How was I introduced to it? And then when somebody had made me feel less than a person and I'd run to that alcohol, it was a belief that I had that was going to cure me and fix me. So just maybe using that as a simple example, that when I realized that was because I had leaned on it before, and it became a symptom. It was a symptom of the feeling that I got when somebody maybe called me a sissy. Like, you're a sissy. Oh, well, what I do? Well, I know how to make that feel good. I've had this experience with alcohol. And so now I'm going to go and drink this alcohol. And now I've got this, well, in AA, in the 12 Steps of Anonymous class, they call liquid courage. I've heard it shared before. And so I believed on that. And so that was always my go-to. Now what I've done is I blanket the truth of the condition of my belief. So that belief is that I'm no sick because I don't drink. I'm going to come up with the alcohol. So then others, I'm not no longer a coworker. Or I don't have to communicate with my met at a fast food restaurant. I was working there, and then what I do, I quit the job, and I gave up the opportunity to live life. I'm to another continue to grow these and believe what somebody else would pressure me, and so I developed the attitude that hey, I'm not a sissy because I know how to drink. So now I get what we call habits. So I start moving into regular habits, and I continue to do these habits and it just accommodates that initial belief that I'm not a sissy, I'm tough enough. So now I'm going to be violent and I'm going to show them, I'm going to get drunk, I'm going to drink and drive. I'm going to show them how to, manage my relationship with my partner at the time. And what had happened is I built up an expectation over that. So what I just described is 4 barriers that will take me out of the change that I actually need to do to set an intention. I have to go all the way back to the initial moment when I linked on a belief.
Yeah. What part of how we get to the childhood pain is by owning the end result. And for me, it was, I'm an alcoholic. Without blame or judgment, I'm an alcoholic. And me being an alcoholic is in alignment with what happened to me as a child. So that truth of I'm an alcoholic, I have a feeling constellation that goes with it, because I'm not in blame or judgment. I'm not in the story about why I'm an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic.
Right.
They're all this and that. Those people don't do this. And then in that moment, there's a lucid moment, just owning the character defect.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say, it is my intent to be sober, or it is my intent to be kind, or it is my intent to heal myself. And that intent embeds in the subconscious and starts becoming active in my
Mm-hmm.
choice of behavior. So owning the end result, alcoholic, codependent, or whatever the avoidant behavior is, and that can be legion, gambling, when I own what couple times without I have a right and that pain in the life of having it's fair.
It's amazing, my whole life learned how it's able to happen that nano-second. How it's able to, just one word to a moment. All this process is happening. It's just coming down right to that core, to that soul hurting, the emotional sensation of the body, and all of the young age. But that's not who I am.
No, exactly.
It's not who I am. And so I develop an expression as being an authentic, loving, kind, generous man with integrity in the community.
Yeah.
And with that, it allows me to be a loving, patient, respectful man in my home.
Yes. Wow. This work, I mean, it's given me back my life, and it's given me back my life through the last place I thought I could go to get it, and that's in ownership of the behavior that is not me, and it is in alignment with a childhood trauma. In my childhood, I got tagged with my behavior. John, you are your behavior. So I was pretty well screwed. And at 13, and I stole a bottle of sacristy wine out of the sacristy from the priest, and I got drunk, and it was like, holy cow, this is heaven. I want more. I'm gonna keep doing it. So it took away what I call anxiety, which is a result of family of origin dysfunction, childhood trauma. Wow, what a place to hide the way out is in the behavior you want to deny. You want to say, you don't want to admit, I'm a good guy, and I have a problem with drinking. Okay, I'll get that done. I'll take care of that. When no, I was owned by the alcohol. So
yeah, it had me. I didn't have my life. When you talk about getting your life back, wow, now I actually can find the original purpose that I was intended to be here on this planet for. And as this this meat suit, this body, this flesh, this face, all of this outer part, this is just a vessel that allows me to express myself in a new way. So it's really amazing.
Larry, I got a new term for you. Maybe I've heard this, and I'm seeing it as beneficial to me. Is that I'm reclaiming my original essence energy. The energy I came in with, that was mountains. The original essence is to own the concept of
behaviors that I had learned in order to survive.
Yeah.
And so, and then, the definition of insanity, keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's the powerlessness. It's like, well, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do but to keep doing the same thing. And I sat in my first ACA meeting, and I was in the Castro in San Francisco, and there were, in my memory, there were 50 people in this room, all of us seeking to appreciate the actual truth, because life wasn't working for us. Our strategies had become bankrupt. So there we were, being willing to consider the paradox. In order to get power, I have to admit I have none.
Yeah. Yeah, you said a key thing for me, I recognize, and I think John could remember this, surrendering,
Yeah.
just being able to surrender. And that was the change for me. I didn't have an understanding of, what surrender was. I had all the answers. I knew if I could develop a new outcome, if I could just control something else. But yeah, that first step is recognize that I'm powerless over, you know, not knowing that I didn't have any power. So just being powerless. Wow, and just understanding that, Marty. Thank you for helping me continue to reclaim my essence and energy.
Hmm.
And because that's the ongoing piece that works for me as well, is knowing that when I come to understanding that I am powerless over my upbringing, but I can regain that by taking, the steps of that paradox and realize that I'm powerless and that I didn't have any power back then.
Yes. See, as a child, you did not have, that was absolutely true. As a child is the true definition of codependency. We were entirely, utterly dependent on our caregivers. And we had to do whatever they asked us to do to survive. And that was shut down your feelings, don't be you, create a role, be fake. And then we get up in our adult lives and we're in this role being fake and wondering how come this isn't working. And it doesn't work. Yeah. Works as a child.
Well, the irony is that because we were powerless, we actually had no idea what power actually was.
Right.
The only power that we knew was the power that our parents had imposed upon us. And so now we grow up imitating that with the implicit belief that that's what power actually is. That goes to your patriarchal male role belief system kinds of beliefs, which actually weren't power for them either. They were power in the sense that they were the big people and we were the little people, and therefore they could physically and emotionally impose and violently.
I like to you're being to bring to most people.
I'd like to refer that as attention. Pay attention to my mentor on my virtual program, where groupies have an opportunity to get back through expression and how to tap into their own conscious and share the information based on what they know, and to share and continue. There's a lot of different components to it. There's some brothers who are definitely interested in creating a in a box, so to speak, so that it's to connect into the essence of themselves, whether it be somebody to physical gifts, like has skills and motivation just to work out and or dreams, to not to fall into that category and to heal from that and recover back to the essence of their authentic self. So using a lot of the tools and skills that not only Man Alive, but the intentional living as well, giving a group leader an opportunity to learn the structure and hold the group accountable and help folks become more aware of their ability to be who they are personally.
Yeah, and this is a broad-based, the only thing I can think of to describe is a broad-based platform where people with a certain skill level and want to teach it and or share that information with people as far as sexual addiction. It could be sexual trauma, communication style, Man Alive, intentional living, how to set intents, maybe somebody working with gamblers or whatever. They'll have a platform so that they can join with you, and then you'll put them on a list and send it out to the community at large and see how it goes.
Right. Yeah. So ultimately, they'll have a category of different life skills and components.
Right.
Are you having issues with anger? Do you feel like you are unable to control your anger? Maybe this support group can be good for you. Here's a profile of the group leader and how long he's been doing this work. And if you're interested, fill out the a little just a little questionnaire. Pick your time and date, and boom, you're just right online with them at that time and date. Others are, even as for yourself or Marty, intentional living. Here's your profile. Here's the group and what it's about. If you'd like to start, they just, fill in the information, and then they have their group time. They get the link, they get the information. This came out of the idea of, since the pandemic, experience that. So a lot of people have been isolated. They've been in their homes. When we started looking at the experience of the increase of optimization, I'm looking at the continuity and these components. But this is an opportunity to people that are doing platforms to also want them to learn how to be authentic in their own way and make choices for themselves instead of living in their past.
That's really exciting, Larry. That's really exciting. Very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for you and for the platform and wow.
Yeah, it is actually scheduled to hit the internet on January 15th.
Oh, okay.
So there'll be a few groups on there with group leader profiles and categories and so on. So anyone that would be interested in putting their group and be a group leader and get more information about it, they just send the message to administrative, which would be myself and a few other folks, until it continues to grow. And every large thing is always started small, just like my trauma and my development of my adult issues and so on. So it just grew and grew and grew. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see it in action and actually get everyone involved. Anyone that's interested. It's called DAMM. DAAMM. Drug, Alcohol, Anger Management Tours. So if you're still motivation, so we get some other people that also feel that. Get with the damn services. There's a lot of ways that this is going to be. It's again, I'm expressing myself and getting connected with other folks, such as you gentlemen here, to come out of that expression is it's a creative experience that is going on, and there's just abundance of it. So I'm excited. My mind is it's filled with all of these wonderful gifts because of the recoding process that I've been doing within my subconscious and the hurt that I've experienced. And that's because of the intentions that I have today, and they're moving forward full force. It's amazing, John, if I can mention something too. I remember not knowing how to connect with myself, and I now I play golf with you. In my mind, it's like it's totally, it's like, wow, when we're able to make a decision within ourselves and finding that ability, that power, regaining that power. And what Marty, thank you for mentioning that. I realized I was powerless when I didn't have any power at all, but regaining that power of knowing that starts just a new generation within my own mind, but it doesn't change the condition of who my heart tells me I am. So I get those two things in alignment today. Wow, the expression of love that I've learned over time, and just meeting somebody where they're at was just amazing. So I can't thank you for allowing me to be me. And to learn that I get to be me. And I get to learn who I am. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
I always thought that you have the building
human being.
But even So now as a facilitator, when people say, I don't feel anything or I feel numb, it's like, okay, now there's a feeling. Are you willing to consider that that's a feeling?
Right.
And people generally kind of throw their heads back and go, whoa.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
somehow that opens up even more connection to the actual bodily sensation going on all the time. And
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter. And we have people in our meetings that are in their 80s. It doesn't matter how old you are. The power of this process is it meets every single human being who wants to encounter it, wherever he or she is at, period.
Mhm.
Don't got to understand it.
You don't. No. You just got to
It's-
feel it.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta learn to feel it. Once I learn the feeling, I can change. I can know where that feeling was developed.
Yeah.
You know, what that belief is, and then I get the choice to change it.
Exactly.
And that's where my power is regained right then.
That's the expression, but that's the definition of power. The availability of options in any given moment is in
Right.
direct proportion to your power.
That's
And
right.
it's in the choice. And I want to say one more thing. I spent most of my life blaming myself for the decisions that I made, not realizing that it really wasn't a decision. It was a reaction from childhood trauma that was instigated before I could even think about it. And I was that's all I was doing was reacting. And the ability process actually puts me in a place where I'm lucid and finally make a decision. Do I want it? Did this work or did it not? It's simply answer the question. For me to make and
This is about, but I'm reaching from my trauma. Respond instead of react was the right passage to me. If I'm reacting, I'm just missing my ability to use my power. Or the power of changing to the expression of who really imminent.
Yeah.
So I would take class would be, who are you? You know, we become a man in the world instead of a man of the world.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow.
Well, and interestingly enough, that the answer to the question of what is your purpose or who am I basically is, well, what do you want your purpose to be and who do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
What is this sensation coming from? And how is it, relating to your experiences of what you don't want up here, the trauma, that's created from in the belief in your mind or your subconscious.
Right.
Do you want to be seen as an aggressive, overreacting, discouraging, violent individual, or do you know what feel the love, compassion, understanding, patient soul has to offer?
Oh wow, Larry. Yeah.
But what's interesting, Larry, is that one of the things I learned from John, I'll never forget this, when he allowed me to go to the jail with him and just observe, sit in the back of the room, is regardless of which one of those two choices you choose, there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. And John's sitting up there going, I'm not here to tell you to quit drinking or to quit using. If you want to drink and use, then I'll support you in that. And I remember my jaw.
I sat in class and I still didn't know anything about screwing, didn't know anything about purpose, react to my conscious and didn't tap into subconscious. But they let me out on work project, and 2 months later, and I thought I was going to make it, and I came back and I sat in the room, and I'll never forget this. And John says, "You open to a question?" I says, "Yeah." I says, "Is that working for you?" And I said, it didn't work. It didn't work. And that was the time where I had to surrender to learning how to set some intentions and owning something. And so I actually wrote something, and I say this over and over at times in my mind. I wrote it down, and I wrote it anonymously in one of his that was the impact class, survivors impact class that we were sitting in, and I was getting in through all the challenges, standing firm in the struggle. And if you're open to hear it, I'd like to share it with you.
Sure. Okay.
It's called, the title of it was Focus, Intention, Projection, Pain. was everything that John wrote on the board. Thank you, John, for putting that up there. Focus, intention, projection, pain. See, your first thought is usually wrong. If you think of it again, it will fester and grow strong. So stay out of your mind and feel with your heart. Stay with that pain, and you'll make a new start. If there's something in your life you want to rearrange, projection, move for pain, make change. And I told these days I ask who I am, because that is the tool that I use to develop out of the creativity of that hurt, pain. So that hurt, so handing you that. 3 years later, I see it too. That was
Thank you for sharing that, Larry. Thank you.
Thank you for writing it on the board.
I'm still writing it on the board 20 years later. The same thing's up on the board. It's like I'm not changing it. It's working.
Wow. Yeah. What an amazing feeling to still be standing firm in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And wow.
Oh, I'd like to pay John the compliment in my experience in working with him is that you continue to develop new ways of expressing. So one of the virtues that I've experienced with you, John, is that you're open to the inputs of all of those of us who are adopting what we learned from you and doing our own twist and version of it because we're unique individuals, and Larry's going to work through this the way Larry does, and I'm going to work through this the way I do, and folks watching this podcast, you're all going to work through this the way you do. And if we're willing to take the perspective that everyone's got something to contribute, then there's an endless source, an endless supply of better and better ways to share this information, to make it available to more and more people, because everyone's gonna hear this slightly differently.
Yeah. You might want to consider seeing dam services.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the creativity. Yeah, great. Wow. I appreciate your compliment to John as well.
I've got a million of them.
All the material that I have grew out of experience in the group, from the people participating and me facilitating the way I facilitate. And if this material, if we ever get to the point where we're going to canonize this material, I'm going to say, let's shit can it, because then it becomes poison. And if we can't add to it, we can't continually be creative with it, it's no good. So it's always going to grow. And as soon as it stops growing, we'll just throw it in the shit can and start over.
It reminds me of that. It reminds me of that puzzler that the Buddhists say: if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is not the answer. This is this is a process. It's a technique, and if it grows,
I love it. I'm experiencing every day as a new day. I never remember I want to know what that feels like. I have no idea.
I can offer some information, but every time I was trying to bring my old explanations some time, but the video was that house, and only on that house I destroyed it on the death, and that I know me. And I'm sorry, Marty, the death of my old ego creates a new ego in alignment with my, however you call it, quantum field, higher power, source energy. And that's where I want my ego, is in alignment with my higher power. Okay.
I was going to just make the wise ass comment. This last conversation reminds me of the title of a Fire Sign Theater album from the late 1960s called "Everything You Know Is Wrong."
That's cool.
That is absolutely true. That's what some old crusty guy told me when I was first in recovery. All your most intelligence, the best you could do, got you in this door. So you only have one thing to change, and that's everything.
That's right.
Like, shut up. I don't want to hear this.
Right. If you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're sorry. it's something that I have for my life. And with that expression, I was beginning to strive never and let's her to have a conversation, dialogue.
That's what you do. For a long time. We're gonna,
I will love with that and definitely open for the spread the things I have. So I'm easy. I'll pass it.
I'll do this word.
And I'm just miraculous, and you deserve this. 100%. Yes, sir. Wow. Thanks for coming on too. So.
Thank you for having me. You're right. I deserve everything I got coming to me.
Yeah.
Everything.
Everything.
And more.
Yeah, it's limitless. You know, well, the more I learn, the less I really know.
Yep.
And that's along with that powerlessness.
Sounds about right. Yeah. Well, Larry Webb from Man Alive Sacramento, thank you so much for joining us. John Donovan, as always, good to be with you. And I think we'll do this one more time before the year is out.
Support that, please. Absolutely. Thanks.